Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us here today for Teens Talk TV. Our topic today is student government, and today we're just going to discuss with a few of our local school student leaders. So if our guests can go ahead and introduce themselves, we'll do ladies first.
Thank you, Madison. My name is Nina Jackson, and I'm a recently graduated student from Oxon Hill High School. I currently serve as the student member of the Prince George's County Board of Education, but my term will be coming to an end June 30th, and I'll be attending Bucknell University in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania in the fall.
Awesome, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alvaro Cerron-Reeves. I'm a sophomore at Eleanor Roosevelt High School, and I have the pleasure to be your next student member of the board elect for Prince George's County Board of Education.
Awesome. We are honored to have you guys with us today. So thank you so much. And we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. So Nina, we want to just kind of get your perspective since you're on your way out of high school and into the world of adulting. Welcome. It's not that fun here, but we kind of want to know what your role was on the Prince George's County Public School Board of Education and how you kind of got interested in applying for that or how all of that came about.
Yeah, so as a student member of the board, I am the sole student representative on the Prince George's County Board of Education. I am one of a total of 14 members. And the biggest responsibility that I had was to, one, bring a student perspective to the educational issues being discussed by the board, and also ensuring that the 130,000 plus students that attend schools within PGCPS are being adequately represented. For me, my foot in the door to the position was student government. I started out in my school as like class president, doing stuff with my school's PTSA, working on my school's executive board. And for me, that kind of started my interest in policies and procedures and regulations and how that relates to education and public schooling. From there, I got involved on a county and state level in student government. And from there, I got and gained an interest in public policy and public administration specifically. And so my junior year, I decided to take the shot and take the chance and put in my application as a student member of the board.
Awesome. Well, looks like, you were working up to it. So I'm sure it is well deserved. So Alvaro, I want to know, how did you become interested in the board position and what you're looking forward to most?
So I first got involved into student government my 7th grade year at Kenmore Middle School. I got introduced to PGRAS, which is the Prince George's Regional Association of Student Governments, so like the county level SGA. And ever since then, like 3-4 years ago, I've looked to this position as, I guess, a beacon and a means of allowing students to feel heard, allowing students to feel that they're going to be represented to the best of their ability by the Board of Education. What this position to me really means is ensuring that students are getting that seat at the table and being involved in conversations that are going to eventually impact them, and it's going to reflect back onto schools. And so that's what I see this position as really being that voice that students deserve.
I'm loving both of you all's advocacy work. And so, Alvaro, I just want to know what led up to doing this? Did you have previous student board experience in the past? Did you just kind of take a leap of faith? Let me know kind of like, what your thought process was. I know personally that it could be very hard and scary going up for elected positions. I failed in elementary school and, it flows, it ebbs and flows. So go ahead and tell me a little bit what that was like.
So, around this time last year, I didn't know I wanted to be student member of the board. I was serving actually I had just been sworn in as treasurer for the Maryland Association Student Councils, so state level student government. And serving in that organization, I was able to expand and really see the work that, our student member of the boards are doing across the state, and really being able to see not just what the Prince George's County SMOB is doing, but what other SMOBs have been doing. And I think that really helped push me to want to take up this position, to feel that someone like me could take up this position. And so really that's what really pushed me. I mean, also seeing the great work that Nina was able to do. I mean, she served under a pandemic, and so seeing that she could do the work in these certain specific circumstances, I think that I saw that maybe I could do it myself, and I'm just beyond thankful and grateful to be able to say that I'm going to be the next student member of the board elect.
Thank you so much for that. Nina, I'm wondering, what are some things that you've learned, and how has serving on the board not only helped you, but helped your community and your peers?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. There's a lot of lessons I've learned. I think one of the greatest takeaways I've had from my experience on the board is that being a public servant and serving in a position of an elected official really brings a greater and deeper sense of empathy to the idea of being an advocate and the idea of doing community work. The fact of the matter is that a lot of times, you know, besides like being at public board meetings, you have the ability and the experience of interacting and meeting people and talking to people when they're at some of the lowest points in their life or in their educational experience. On the flip side of that, you also have the opportunity of experiencing moments of celebration and jubilation and triumph with people as they experience those moments and those hall markers in their educational journey as well. And so just being able to meet with people and connect with students and connect with young people and find a way to bring to them the services and the resources that they need definitely enhances your understanding of what it means to be a public advocate and a public servant. I think one of the other greater lessons I've learned as well is the importance of communication. Being in a pandemic, while I didn't have the opportunity to be face to face like I would have liked with people, and kind of getting a feel of that physical energy, what you learn is that it's important to ensure that students have access to what is going on at the board level and at the administrative level in regards to policy and procedures and changes in process. And so being able to find different ways of connecting with different groups of students based on their needs and their access to different resources and resource hubs was definitely something I had to learn how to do, especially considering we were in a pandemic and in a virtual world.
I'm sure this virtual world has been crazy for everybody, so I can only imagine the hardships and all the great things that that you had to overcome and learn. And I'm sure you are a better professional because of it, because like I said, this world is not easy. But Alvaro, reflecting off of the people who have come before you, how do you plan to impact your community with this position? Is there really anything in particular that you feel like this burning passion to really change during your term? And if you don't mind telling us, how long is your term?
Yeah, so the term for a student member of the board is actually 1 year long. And so it's basically just the entire school year. Seeing all the work that the past 3 SMOBs were able to do, it has really inspired me to, try to get my hands dirty and try to get the ball rolling with this position. I mean, like I mentioned, we're only given 1 year. And so I have a lot of different ideas, but it's really about prioritizing, what can really be done during my term, or what can I start the ball rolling so that future SMOBs can take on the mantle for it. Like my predecessor Nina always says, it's about being a champion for all. And so, and so I think that's something I really want to carry during my term, is ensuring that all of our students are being represented, whether you're part of the LGBTQ community, whether you're white, whether you're Black, whether you're Hispanic, whether you're Asian. It's ensuring that they're feeling that they're represented not only in our schools, but in our curriculum as well. And so ensuring that we're making those necessary changes. And so something specific I would like to maybe change is getting a more inclusive health curriculum. Not everyone is straight. And so ensuring that our LGBTQ students are feeling included in that curriculum, but also so our neurodivergent students are feeling included. And then also possibly getting gender neutral bathrooms. So we're allowing those students to feel safe and welcome in our schools. And so those are some of the things I would like to get the ball rolling with my term.
That is a great list of action items to have on your agenda. I'm sure you will find some way to get it done some way, somehow. But speaking of getting things done, Nina, can you kind of tell me, how you balance it all. I am in college now and I wake up for at 8 a.m. and I hate it. But then I remember that you guys go to school at like 7 a.m. and then you just do all this stuff. So how did you manage to do all that you did this past year?
That's a question I'm still trying to find the answer to. Definitely still a work in progress. Um, I think in a more abstract way, it's easier to do hard things when you're passionate about what you're doing, right? No one feels really motivated to get up and do something they don't like. Um, and so you just knowing that I'm working towards a purpose and towards a mission and towards a vision, and having the fact that I have goals in mind is definitely a strong motivator. In a more specific and technical sense, one of the biggest things that I had to learn how to do and hone is time management. I kid you not, throughout the course of my term, I've had at least like 4 ways of keeping a calendar just to ensure that I wasn't missing a meeting, I wasn't missing a class, and I wasn't missing deadlines. In addition to that, it's really great to have people in your corner and people in your village who hold you accountable and hold you to high expectations and say, you know what, even though you're the student member of the board, you're still a student first. Even though you're a student member of the board and even though you're a student, you're still a child, you're still a sibling and you still have personal obligations that you need to fulfill as well. And thirdly, I would say I try to always keep in mind the fact that even though I am a student member of the board, I'm a student. What you don't want to do is skim and miss out on living the life of a young person, the life of a teenager, the life of a student. I still, in a non-COVID world, right, would have went to basketball games, would have went to football games, would have went to homecoming, would have stayed after school for extracurriculars, because that prioritization is extremely important to me. And so those are kind of like my 3 biggest keys and gems to trying to balance it all.
Well, it definitely seems like you had it down to a science. So I'm definitely impressed. So now that you're reflecting, I want to know, if you don't mind me asking, what is your next action? What do you want to do? You're going to college. Do you plan to keep pursuing student government? Has the experience just been too much? Or you're like, I want to take a break. Just, let me know how you feel about that. What's next?
Yeah, so the past 4 years of high school have definitely taught me that I have a passion and a love for public administration and government and policy, education policy specifically. And so I'll be attending Bucknell University in the fall as a policy scholar. And right now, the goal is to double major in political science and education with a minor in public policy. I have a few different opportunities lined up. I'm going to speak into existence and manifest it that will allow me to still engage in my advocacy in regards to youth advocacy, youth political education, and education policy. And so folks will probably still be seeing bits and pieces of me. But even in addition to all of that, and getting involved in campus and getting acclimated, it's still my hope to stay connected to what's happening here in Prince George's County. Prince George's County is my home, is my heart. My goal in the long run is to come back to Prince George's County. And so, of course, following Alvaro and what he's doing, during his term as a student board member and being a support to him and being in his village is important to me. And just making sure that he's able to succeed in his term.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. I wish you all the best of luck. My minor is public policy, so I see you. I see you. So here's a question for both of you, but I'll let Elro start. So what do you guys suggest that people do in their communities just to get out there? And it doesn't have to be, elected official, wise, or just like, I live in Prince George's County. I go to Prince George's County schools. How do I get involved? What advice do you guys have? What did you guys do before you guys got to these positions?
I would say take the first step of asking around, asking about the different opportunities that your school has that the county itself presents. I mean, when I was in middle school, I obviously always wanted to be a part of SGA, but I didn't know really the extent that SGA went into. I didn't know there was a whole county level and a state and even national level SGA. And so I think it's really just about taking that first step of asking and then taking that second step of getting involved and getting yourself in that mindset that you can do it, that you can, take a stand for something you believe in. And, you don't have to, start a whole movement to say that you're getting involved. But I mean, just joining organizations like your own school student government is taking that first step.
Alvaro definitely hit the nail on the head. And in addition to what he mentioned about networking and reaching out and finding ways to get involved, I would say education and educating yourself is important. By education, I don't mean, math and English class, even though those are important. But what I mean is by understanding the issues that impact our district or your school system, or even your school, if that's the level you want to start at, understanding the who's who. So what is everyone's role? Who are the people you need to know about? And staying abreast of current issues. Here in Prince George's County, within PGCPS, there's things that are changing literally like day by day, hour by hour. Laws, policies, initiatives, programs. And so staying abreast of those and keeping yourself informed about what's happening and being an informed citizen is, I think, one of the most pivotal and strongest things you can do to ensure that you can impact your community the way you would like to impact it.
You guys are very wise for people who are very young. I'm loving everything that you guys are saying. I admire you all for your persistence and your willingness to be so for your community. But with that being said, who are you guys as role models? How did you guys get to this point of, people who just want to make that change in their community? It doesn't matter who goes first, but I want to hear from both of you. Who are your role models?
I can go first. This is always like a really hard question because I don't want to like go down the laundry list of folks, but I think in a very general way, one is definitely my family. I like to think a pretty good work ethic, and I wouldn't have that work ethic if it wasn't for like my family, like my mom and my sister. And so that's the biggest piece of it. But second to that, I would say school, teachers, administrators, advisors. These are folks, how I talked about earlier, that held me accountable, held me to task, and expected more out of me than I sometimes expected out of myself. The fact of the matter is that I wouldn't have even put in my application for student member of the board if it wasn't like my administrator and my principal and my SJ advisor who told me that I would be a good fit for the position and encouraged me to do it. And so I have a village that supports me, and I owe it to my village to keep doing what I'm doing and to also give back to my community.
Awesome. I love the village concept personally. I think it's an amazing way to think about upbringing. But go ahead, Alvaro. I want to hear from you as well.
So, I mean, what Nina said, a lot of truth. I mean, family is a big part of, who I am today, especially my parents, immigrating to this country from Guatemala. I mean, so their students can, their children can have a better life. And I mean, I wouldn't have the same morals if it wasn't for them. I wouldn't have these beliefs and I guess these goals that I have if it wasn't for them. And so definitely my parents are a top of the list for role models. But I mean, I would also say Mr. Richard Moody. He's the advisor for Prince George's Regional Association of Student Governments. And he's just an amazing person, and just the passion he has towards working with students and student government, and ensuring that they're being guided to take on positions like student member of the board, like president of, your school, or president of the county SGA. And so I think Mr. Moody's a major role model. But then I'm also say Miss Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She has just, she is amazing. She's like, I feel like she's such an amazing person. I definitely idolize her, and just the effort she has done in Congress, especially as a Latina. And so I would say those are my top threes.
Awesome. Those are great. Everyone said a role model that I could see and I understand. And I agree. Family does play a big part in who we are. So lastly, I just want to ask you guys, what advice would you give to somebody who seeks to hold the positions that you guys hold one day?
Go for it. Just do it. Like, even if you're thinking about it, even if there's like the slightest bit of hesitation, just put in your application. Just do it. Give it a shot. Even if you lose, it's still an experience worth experiencing. Just the hustle and bustle of like campaigning, and like having to put together a platform and having to envision what a better tomorrow would look like for PGCPS students is it alone like an invaluable experience. but then getting the position is something else entirely. And so my advice would just do it. That's all you gotta do, just do it.
Definitely have to agree with Nina. I mean, just do it, but then also something that she hit was also you're not always going to win. And so it's about making sure that you're keeping at it, that you're being consistent, ensuring that one loss isn't going to affect your whole mindset when it comes to serving and being part of student government. I know I definitely didn't win the first few elections I did in school student government. I mean, now I'm student member of the board. And so I think it's really just important for you to keep at it. And like Nina said, it's about growth. You're going to grow in your position. No one is ever going to be the most prepared to serve in any position. You're going to learn throughout your term and in whatever position you fill. And so, yeah, just really just do it, keep at it, and make it one heck of experience.
That is some great advice. Well, that's all the questions from me. Tolu, do you have any things to add or ask?
Thank you. I actually did have one thing I wanted to ask you guys. So, Alvaro, you mentioned your parents and how they came to America and how their determination kind of like rubbed off on you, and how you want to pursue great things. And same for you, Nina, like how you were like raised by like a village that pushed you to go on to achieve things that you couldn't have done otherwise. That made me think about how did your experience as a person of color living in PG County affect your or kind of affect your experiences in these positions, and the kind of things that you paid attention to and the kind of issues that you paid attention to while in these positions? Because like from one person with immigrant parents to another, I can definitely say that my experience in student government has definitely been affected by my upbringing and the kind of things that I've experienced throughout my life. So I'm just curious to see how that goes for you two.
So, okay. So I would say it's really, I mean, being born into an immigrant family, I think that it really just, like you said, has shaped really what my goals and my focuses have been. I mean, wanting to really bring about this change that students aren't going to have to struggle or, go through the hardships that you did. And so something I definitely want to do during my term is focus into our Latinx community, focus into our immigrant community as well, into our ELL learners, ensuring that they're not feeling left out, because even though we don't really want to admit it, they're being left out from huge programs like AP, from our science and tech programs and different specialty programs like that. And I know Nina led the huge charge of ensuring that the board took action on that. But I definitely want to pick up the role and ensure that these families are feeling heard and that they're feeling that they're going to be included in their school, and just because they're not originally from the country, that they're going to be left out, that they're any less. And so that's what I would say with that. And yeah, and so when it comes to being SMOB, I think what it's believed to be, I'm the first Latino in this position. And so I think it really just says a lot about the county. It says a lot that we're ready to take up roles like this, that anyone could do whatever they put their mind towards. And so that's all I'm going to say about that, but I'm sure Nina can definitely go out more.
Oh yeah, Alvaro again was like right on the money, right on the ace. I think for me, being a person of color and growing up in Prince George's County, right, you get used to seeing us. You get used to seeing Black people achieving and being excellent and living to standards that, generally speaking, the rest of the world doesn't nearly expect of us. But one of the things that I had to kind of reconcile and reckon with is the fact that just because we are predominantly Black and brown does not mean that we are absolved of upholding systems or perpetuating cycles that are harmful to Black and brown communities or other marginalized communities as well. And so throughout the course of my term, we've had a variety of different discussions around what do we mean when we say equity? Who should be targeted in our equity efforts? And how can we reevaluate and restructure systems and processes and procedures to make sure that we are not unintentionally or intentionally hurting the communities that we make up most of our community. And so for me, I've had to take a really self-critical and self-reflective look at what I'm doing, what my policies and what my ambitions and visions are. And are we either playing into old systems that have, even though we're predominantly Black and Brown, disproportionately hurt us the most? Or am I envisioning new systems and new structures that can continue to support, the excellence that we know we can achieve as, Prince George's County? And so for me, that's been the most, that's been something I've definitely had to kind of reconcile with throughout my term being a person of color. And that was a phenomenal question.
Yes, thank you, co-host Tolu, for that awesome question. Do you have anything else to add?
No. But by the way, congrats Alvaro on being the first Latina SMOB of Prince George's County, and hopefully there'll be many more after you. Thank you guys again. I really appreciated it. That's all the questions I have.
All right. Well, with that being said, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That is the end of today's episode. I would like to thank both of our guests tremendously for being with us today. We so greatly appreciate it. And Teens Talk TV and InReach just wishes you guys all the best luck with your next term, with the next phase in your step in you guys' lives. And for everybody at home watching, please check out inreachinc.org for more information related to this topic, upcoming events, and more information about Prince George's County. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you all next time.